Right now is Senator Rick Scott. And Senator, it's great to see you.
Good morning.
What do you think about the trade talks as they've progressed to this point? Where do you think things are important, or what are you most hoping we get out of any of this?
Well, first off, I want to thank President Trump and Bob Lighthizer for what they're doing. Finally, somebody's got to stand up to the government of China. They're bad actors. They said, no, they're stealing our trade secrets. They're saying, we want to come into your market, but we want to restrict your ability to come into our market. So what I want is that I want free trade, but it's got to be fair. I mean, look, I'd love to get rid of all the tariffs, but we've got to make sure they're not stealing our trade secrets. So we've got to say, we're going to do a deal with you, but we're going to make sure, and we're not releasing these sanctions unless you can prove to us that you're going to stop stealing our trade secrets. That impacts American jobs. On top of that, let's remember, they're sitting there supporting a thug like Maduro down in Venezuela, who, we have all these children dying, starving down there, and China's a bad actor worldwide. They're building up their military to compete with us. The Chinese government, let's all remember, they are not our friend. So we've got to stand up, and that's what President Trump and Bob Lighthizer are doing.
They're not our friend, but we do need their support, especially in issues like North Korea. They are the only ones who can probably put enough pressure on that regime to really come back to the table after the talks ended last week. So where do you come down on that? Should we give a little on the trade talks in order to get their help on a national security issue?
I would not give in on the trade talks. Look, China's not proven to be a partner. They've not proven to help. They've not helped us with North Korea. They've not helped us with Maduro down in Venezuela. They're building up their military to compete with us. If you look at all the information you look out there right now about what they're doing with their military, they're building a military to compete with us, and they're doing it with profits they make off of stealing our trade secrets and selling goods into America and not letting us compete there. So I want President Trump and Bob Lighthizer to stand firm and say, if you want to be a world-class player, then you're going to have free trade where both countries our companies can do well, and you're going to stop stealing our trade secrets, and you're going to stop supporting thugs like Kim Jong-un in North Korea and Maduro down in Venezuela.
President Trump did walk away from the deal, from the talks with North Korea. You think he should do the same with China if they don't come down and agree to all of those things you just laid out?
I'm a business guy. Almost every big deal you do, you have to walk away at some time. People have to know you're serious. So I think he did the right thing on North Korea. And look, I can't imagine that you can get a deal done with China easily. It's going to be hard. So I hope he gets something done. I hope he gets it done this month. But then they've got to comply with it. We can't continue to just give in, and give in, which I think is what we've done in the past.
And yet, Senator Scott, there seems to be already a date set for a signing of some sort of accord in Mar-a-Lago. I mean, a trade deal is very difficult to get done, and you may be able to have the Chinese agree to a certain number of things, but it's the enforcement mechanism that's still in question. Would you back a trade agreement that was signed by the president if it didn't include enforcement action, or if we didn't know that China really intended on giving in on these very important issues that you outlined, such as forced technology transfer?
Of course not. I mean, this is what Reagan said: trust but verify. They can say all they want, but if they're not going to prove that they're going to be, they're going to be a fair player, they're going to stop stealing our trade secrets, they're going to stop doing all these horrible acts by helping people like Maduro and Kim Jong-un. I mean, why would we believe that we should do this when ultimately we're going to go down the same path, lose American jobs, allow them to build up their military? We've got to stand strong right now. This is the time to do it. And I hope President Trump and Bob Lighthizer continue to do that.
Our guest host today is Sam Zell. Sam, what do you think about that? Because that's a little bit of a harder line than we hear from most of the business leaders that we talk to on the program.
Yeah, I think that Senator Scott has got the right direction. I think that one of the things that, needs to be added to what he said is the fact that China doesn't do anything that it doesn't view in its own interests. We have a reason to want China to help us in North Korea. They're going to help us in North Korea if they see a benefit coming from it. And I just think we need to be totally realistic that they're operating for their own benefit, and we need to operate for our benefit. And that creates balance.
Is there, if we feel like we've been getting the short end of the stick for a lot of years, if we feel like we've been on the giving end of this.
No, we haven't been getting the short end of the stick. We've been giving the short end of the stick. We bent over. I mean, what do we make 5 deals with North Korea? They didn't live up to one.
Well, that's my point, is we feel like we have been at the disadvantage. How do we come to some sort of an agreement if we feel like they owe us everything? What do we end up giving in this so that they feel they get something out of it? Or is there no agreement that could be reached between the two of us at this point?
Oh, I think that there's lots of opportunity to reach an agreement. In the end, both countries have one goal in mind, and that's to create prosperity for their people. And the question is, do you do it together, or do you do it on the back of one or the other? History says the only methodologies that really work are ones that are done together.
Senator Scott, to that point, a lot of the back and forth has been over what sort of enforcement we could possibly have with this. I would guess, given the stance that we've heard to this point from you, that you are in favor of pretty stringent enforcement procedures that be put in place. What do you think about the idea of tariffs being rolled off? Is that something that you think should happen immediately, or do you think that that should be a reward for proof that the agreement is being adhered to?
Sure. I think first off, I think what Sam would agree is that good deals are deals where both sides win. And so there ought to be prosperity for China and for Americans, but it's got to be fair to both. And I don't believe we ought to be releasing those sanctions until we know that they're going to stop stealing our trade secrets. And everything could happen at the front end if you could trust them. But if you're doing a deal and you don't trust the other side, it's very difficult to give in when until you know that they're going to do their job. It's very difficult to do that.
But you also have to operate off the same set of rules. I mean,
Right.
One of the issues that hasn't been mentioned is that the Chinese government has set objectives for 2025, basically underwritten by Chinese-owned, state-owned companies. So, in effect, you're creating incentives to attack our companies that are not state-owned and don't have unlimited resources behind them. It's got to be a fair fight. It's got to be fair trade.
Senator Scott, I want to thank you for your time today. It's good to see you.
Nice seeing you.
And again,
nice seeing you, Sam.
Sam Zell is our